This is ABC Fora.
Simon, ladies and gentlemen, fellow panellists, I support the right of everybody to a dignified death. I love life. I think it's fantastic being alive on this little planet and sharing it and carrying the relay from past generations to future generations. And like those good people of Bhutan, my wish is to increase the global happiness for human beings. And as a doctor, I came across this extraordinary disjunction where some folk were dying in dreadful indignity. Pain may have been part of it. It may have been the awful circumstances of the medical condition they had and what that presented to their loved ones, but it was generally the feeling of no future, no happiness for them, and a wish to be relieved of the burden of suffering that they had themselves. And the universal answer, we as doctors in a country which is deprived of the simple human dignity of legislation to enable people to make up their own minds, is that we are not able to listen to that cry, and we are not able to therefore assist people as the Hippocratic Oath would have us do. Maria spoke about this age of market forces. Well, I'm the last person who's a market fundamentalist. I'm a person who believes in sharing, in a humanitarian view for our society, and in the wonder of democracy in helping to civilise and make better the lives of all. And in her introduction, Maria said that she tries to help people to die with dignity, and I think that is a common aspiration of all of us. But she's been able to find through palliative care that she could relieve distress. But the problem is it does not end it in all cases. Nor in all cases she can improve pain, but she cannot end that. And I'm indebted to Dr. Leaf from the Hunter Valley, who's a general practitioner, for just a couple of cases which draw to point this inability of palliative care. And by the way, a recent referendum in Australians about this issue a couple of years ago showed that only 23% of people thought that palliative care would look after the rights of people and relieve them and give them a good death in all cases. Dr. Leaf reported to the Senate committee looking into this matter that a patient of his named Ian was 52 when diagnosed with mesothelioma of the lung. It's a vicious and incurable cancer derived from exposure to asbestos. Dr. Leaf says Ian knew this, and he had nursed his father, who had died of the same thing 20 years before. He was a bright, intelligent businessman with teenage children. He knew what lay in store. Upon telling him the news, he calmly said to me, "You'll need me to help me die because I don't want to suffer like my father, doctor." He was not in shock, depressed or angry. He was realistic. I told him that I had to obey the current law in New South Wales, but I would guarantee I would be there for him. His cancer progressed quickly and spread from his lung to his ribs and breathing muscles along a tract created by a lung biopsy. It infiltrated itself along his intercostal nerves, that's the nerves along the ribs, so that each time he breathed there was an agonising jolt of pain. He failed radiotherapy, and the local pain specialists were unable to help him, so it was left for me, the doctor, to control his pain with increasing doses of morphine. On Anzac Day that year, the Catholic nurses told the doctor that Ian was out of pain. The doctor says, "I was elated, as he had been so difficult to control for 3 months. But upon my arrival at his house, he told me that the nurses had refused to administer a larger dose of morphine that I had prescribed, as it may kill him." He was in agony and begged me to get the nurses to adhere to my dosing schedule. They told me that they could give no further dosing. I was able to resolve the situation by employing a private nursing service who gave the doses I requested, and at these doses he was comfortable and lucid for another 3 weeks before he died. The second patient, Klaus, was in his 60s and had advanced prostate cancer, By the time it killed him in the local hospital, it had created a tumour in front of his anus the size of a rock melon. This communicated with the skin via a hole the size of a tennis ball. It was pressing on his bladder, bowel, spine and nerves to his legs. His legs had swollen to 3 times their usual size, but he was lucid and terrified. His pain was not able to be controlled by normal medication and he required sedation to keep him calm. Eventually he could not speak, but it was plain to see that he was still in pain as he sweated, grimaced and had a fast heart and breathing rate. There had been no prospect of curative treatment for some 3 months prior to this point. Despite specialist palliative care input, this man died in agony, witnessed by his distraught family. Now, I think we have to be able to say to such people, you have a right yourself to determine to avoid such a disgusting and painful and indignified death. Very few people will take up that right. The percentage of people in the Netherlands, which has had euthanasia legislation for the best part of a decade, has gone from 2.5% earlier in this decade to now about 1.7%. There's only 29 people a year on average in Oregon. Next door in Washington State earlier this year, as Dr. Nitschke said, the good people of that very conservative Republican state voted for death with dignity, 3 million of them by a vote of 58 to 42. I asked my fellow panellists, will you allow the people of Australia to be able to vote at a referendum for their right to die with dignity too? Because you see, this is a case of us not wanting to interfere with the rights, to extend the rights of our citizens. That right is being denied. I believe we do not have the right through our own ethical, religious or whatever beliefs to impose on another citizen the abrogation of their right to make a decision about their lives.
This is ABC Fora.